Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about the Pythagorean theorem's converse. And converse is a lot like the reverse. The objectives for this video are: you should know by the end of this video how to prove if three sides can make a right triangle. You should also be able to understand that the longest side of a right triangle is the hypotenuse, and any side that is shorter than the longest side is going to be one of the legs. Students will be able to check if the square of both legs is equal to the square of the hypotenuse, which is just the word form of the Pythagorean theorem formula. Before we start the math, let's go through a little bit of notes. What is a converse? Well, the converse of a statement is whenever you switch the order that something is set in. Like normally you would say, if a triangle has three equal sides, then it is equilateral. If we're doing the converse, then we're going to switch the first part with the second part. The first part of the statement is this. We're going to do that second. So the first thing we're going to write down is, if a triangle is equilateral, then the three sides are equal. The converse of something, which is the reverse of it, doesn't have to always be true, but if it is, then we know that that statement, that math fact, is especially important. If a number is even, then it is divisible by 2. If we switch that, that would say if a number is divisible by 2, then it is even. Well, is it true that if you can divide something by 2 and it fits in perfectly, that it's even? Yep, I can't think of a number that can be divided by 2 evenly, but isn't an even number. Now going back to yesterday's lesson, we know that if something is a right triangle, then a squared plus b squared will equal c squared. Alright, so using that same logic of conversing something, if a triangle is a right triangle, that's the statement that we're given. That's what you learned yesterday. If something is a right triangle, then this formula is true. Today we're going to do the converse of that, so we're going to switch those two parts. This left part, this if part, that's the first part, and the then is the second. When we converse this, we're going to say if the equation is true, if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then if that formula works, if the two legs square and then add together to make c squared, then it must be true that the triangle is right. Once we've switched this statement and we know that one side proves the other side, then we know that now we have a way to prove if a triangle is a right triangle. Because if the equation works, then of course it has to be a right triangle. The right triangles are the only triangles where that equation works. We're going to use a problem-solving board to answer some of these questions. We want to prove if it's a right triangle. They want us to prove if the triangle is a right triangle. The facts that we know are we know that right triangles have that formula. So if the formula is true, if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then it has to be a right triangle. And we're going to write down the facts, which are 85, that's the longest side, so that's the hypotenuse. Then out of these two, 13, that's short, and that's going to be a leg. This one is also short, but it's a little medium. Okay, so the short leg, I'm going to call this one A. The medium one, I like to use the medium one as B. And then the hypotenuse is always C. So we're gonna write down A equals 13, B is 84, and C is 85. If we can take those numbers and put them in the formula, and if it is equal, then we have a right triangle. We're going to start by writing the formula first. We're going to take the numbers we wrote here, and we're just going to substitute them and replace the letters with the number that it's equal to. A was equal to 13, B was equal to 84, and we're squaring it, and C was equal to 85, and we're squaring it. If these two sides, once we use our calculators, are equal, then we have a right triangle. Alright, I'm going to write each number individually just in case you don't have a great calculator. 13 squared is 169. 84 squared is 7056. And 85 squared is 7225. Then let's add together the left side. The two left numbers together make 7225. And the right number is 7225. Since those two things are equal to each other, we're right. That last part, that was the check. We're going to do the problem solving board again, but now I'm going to show you how you would do it, the smaller version. The first part for number 2, we want to know, is the triangle right? Does it have a right angle? To find that out, we need to know, is a squared plus b squared equal to c squared? Then for our facts, we're going to say 21, that's the long side, so that's the hypotenuse, and that also means that it's the letter C. 12 is the shortest one, so that's going to be A. 15 is the medium one, and I want that one to be B. Which one of those two short sides is A and B doesn't really matter, but that's just how I like to do it. Short one's A, medium one is B. Then we're going to take the numbers and we're going to put it into the formula. A was 12, and we're going to square it. B was 15, and we're going to square it. And C was 21, and we're going to square it. We need to see if the left side is equal to the right side. That's 144 plus 225 equals 441. Without even finishing the math, is a 100 plus a 200 going to make a 400? Probably not, but let's just make sure now. I predict that it won't. We're going to get a 9, a 6, and a 3. 369 equal to 441. That is not true. Since the formula didn't work this time, it's not a right triangle. Oh, and I didn't write it over here. Okay, I need you to do the same thing for 3 and 4, and that's going to be your practice. So in 3 and 4, try to do what I did for 1 and 2, and then in a few seconds I'm going to show the answers. There's my work for number 3 and 4. Yours should be something similar. If you're not showing your steps, you're going to make it harder for you later whenever we do more complicated formulas. Especially in algebra, you'll do more formulas, so just go ahead and write your steps now. Even if it takes a little bit of time, it's good practice to keep your mind straight.